I wasn't invited to my own sister's wedding. Not because I was sick, not because I lived across the country, but because my mom said the guest list was curated. There was room for the nail technician, room for the ex-roommate's new boyfriend, even room for the family dog, in a tuxedo. But not for me. I was the older sister, the dependable one, the invisible one. And while they planned their picture-perfect day without me, I watched, front row, when the whole thing exploded. Right there on the live stream. And that's when I realized, sometimes being left out is the best thing that could ever happen to you. It was a Tuesday afternoon when the phone rang. I was reviewing invoices at work, half distracted, sipping on a reheated cup of coffee when I saw the name, Mom. "Hi, Mom," I answered, balancing politeness with mild suspicion. "Isabel, sweetheart, I hope you're sitting down," she said, in that chipper tone she always reserved for uncomfortable news. My heart did a weird skip. I braced myself, then came the blow. "About Madeline's wedding. The guest list is just, well, it's very tight, darling. Logan's family is quite large and the venue has restrictions, so we've had to make some hard decisions." I blinked. Hard decisions? She continued as if she were commenting on the weather. "There just isn't room for everyone." Everyone. That word clanged in my ears like a dropped pan. She meant me. I wasn't on the guest list for my sister's wedding. Not because I couldn't come, not because I didn't RSVP in time, because I, Isabel Grant, her sister, wasn't included. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My breath hitched, and not from joy. "But don't worry," Mom chimed in quickly. "We're having it live streamed. We hired a professional service. You can watch everything from home, like you're right there with us." Like I was right there with them. Except not. I was being offered a front row seat to my own exclusion. The kind of seat reserved for people too sick to travel or distant cousins across the country. But not for the older sister who had co-signed Madeline's first apartment lease. Not for the woman who once pulled 2 all-nighters helping Dad fix the basement flooding. Not for the daughter who never missed a birthday, even the half-birthdays. I was the responsible one. I was the one who kept everything running smoothly. And now I was the one who didn't fit their aesthetic. All I could say was, "Oh." "It's not personal, honey," Mom added quickly, as if sensing the edges of my silence sharpening. "It's just curated." Curated. Like I was a vase that clashed with the room's color palette. "You understand, don't you?" she said. I swallowed, nodded, even though she couldn't see, because that's what I always did. I nodded. I swallowed. I stepped aside. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring into the dark, the glow of my phone lighting up the room every few minutes with social media posts. Madeline and Colton. The Grant wedding. The hashtags were already rolling. And in that moment, I didn't feel like a person anymore. I felt like a footnote. An asterisk at the bottom of a picture-perfect page. But somewhere deep inside, behind the sting and the shock, another part of me stirred. A part that had been silent for years. A part that had watched and waited. A part that knew. This wedding? This picture-perfect event? It was a house of cards. And I had a feeling a strong wind was coming. People think being the responsible one means you don't get hurt. That somehow being dependable makes you immune to disappointment. But in my family, it made me invisible. I learned that lesson early. I was 10 when I asked for a sleepover party with 3 close friends. Nothing fancy, just popcorn, movies, and sleeping bags in the living room. But Madeline, then 5, threw the kind of tantrum that could crack drywall because she wanted a pony-themed party. Her birthday wasn't for another 6 months. My sleepover got canceled. Instead, we had a tense dinner at Olive Garden, where I got a savings bond and Madeline got a promise of a pony ride, just to make her feel included. It didn't stop there. When I won the statewide science fair in high school, after months of building a biodegradable water filter by hand, my parents clapped politely, then pivoted to Madeline's latest role in her elementary school play. She was the third tulip from the left, a felt petal and a glued-on smile. Guess which one got the front row seat on the mantel? They never meant to be cruel, but they were careless in the way people are when they assume your strength means you don't need support. I stopped asking for things because I learned asking meant compromise, and Madeline never compromised. She floated through life with the safety net I didn't know existed. Jewelry making phase, funded. Yoga instructor certificate, paid for. Travel blogging. They bought her the camera, the drone, and the suitcase. I, on the other hand, graduated with no debt, no loans, no bailouts. Just a tidy little apartment and a job managing timelines for someone else's dream. And the cruel twist? My self-sufficiency made me disappear. They didn't have to worry about me, so they didn't. Every family photo had Madeline in the center, me off to the side. Every family story at dinner ended with her punchline. I was the setup, the context, the shadow. And still, I stayed. I showed up. I remembered birthdays and appointments and anniversaries. I helped Dad reset his email password every time he forgot it. I took Mom to her doctor's appointments when Madeline forgot she had one. I was the one they called at 2 a.m. during that plumbing disaster. Not because they loved me more, but because they trusted I'd handle it. And I did. Every time. So when Mom said, "It's just a small wedding, darling," what she meant was, "You don't make noise, you don't cause drama, you'll understand." And I did. That was the problem. I understood far too well. The first time I saw the engagement announcement, it was a Facebook post. There was Madeline, sun-kissed, glowing, barefoot on a beach in Tulum, her arms wrapped around Colton Blake, the man she'd been dating all of 6 months. He was tall, tailored, and obscenely handsome. A trust fund techie with a last name that opened country club gates in Houston. Her caption read, "He asked, I said yes." The photo carousel was a study in Instagram perfection. Drone shots, ring close-ups, champagne toasts. There was a sunset kiss that looked straight out of a wedding magazine. The comments rolled in like applause. "You two are goals. Can't wait for the wedding. This is everything." I didn't comment. I didn't even like the post. I just stared. A few days later, the email arrived. Not a creamy envelope, not calligraphy, not even a cute save the date magnet. Just a subject line, "Madeline and Colton, your Livestream access." It was from a company called Forever Moments Inc. The body of the message was cold and efficient. "You are invited to virtually attend the wedding celebration of Madeline Grant and Colton Blake. Date, Saturday, June 10th. Time, 4 p.m. CST livestream. Link, Zoom link, access code A3X9P4LZ28. It felt less like an invitation and more like a login for an online bill pay portal. I sat there staring at it, my hand frozen on the mouse. I reread the email twice. There was no note, no message from Madeline, no "wish you could be there," just a generic digital pass to witness what I had been deliberately left out of. In the days that followed, my feed became a curated collage of everything I hadn't been invited to. The bridal shower, held at the Rosewood Mansion in Dallas, crystal flutes, personalized macarons, a mimosa bar with edible glitter, the bachelorette party, a whirlwind weekend in Vegas, sequined dresses, matching bride tribe sashes, champagne showers and poolside cabanas. Her friends tagged her in boomerangs, slow-motion videos of popping bottles, snippets of wild laughter. Each post was like a tiny knife. And yet I never let myself cry. Instead, I told myself what I always did. You're saving money on a dress. You're avoiding small talk with strangers. You never liked big parties anyway. I repeated these lies like prayers, hoping they'd harden into truth. But late at night, with the lights off and the room quiet, they melted. And what was left was the ache. The ache of being passed over. The ache of being tolerated, not treasured. So when the wedding day finally came, I did the only thing that felt sane. I went to the wine store and bought the most expensive bottle of Sauvignon Blanc I could find. I came home, changed into my nicest silk robe, curled up on the couch, and logged into Zoom 10 minutes early. I told myself I was fine, that this was fine. The screen loaded. An altar bathed in white flowers, rows of guests fanning themselves beneath chandeliers, a banner at the bottom, a celebration of love, Madeline and Colton, in swirling gold font. The chat box buzzed with distant relatives and forgotten friends. "So excited to be watching! Love from Nashville! Best wishes to the beautiful couple." I didn't type anything, I just sipped my wine. Because in that moment, it was all crystal clear. I wasn't just not invited. I had been edited out. The camera panned slowly across the room, gliding over rows of guests in pastel suits and designer dresses. The string quartet played a saccharine instrumental version of a Taylor Swift song. Candles flickered on the ornate altar, framed by arching sprays of white orchids and roses. Everything gleamed. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. I took another sip of wine. My screen showed a world I was never meant to be a part of, like watching a show where I once had a role, before being quietly written out of the script. Colton appeared at the altar, flanked by groomsmen. He looked sharp, composed, nervous in a way that was charming, marketable. My mother sat in the front row in a pale blue dress, her hair helmeted in place, her posture rigid. Beside her, Dad looked like a man who still didn't quite understand what he was doing there. And then the music shifted. Madeline entered. She was stunning, ethereal, but her jaw was tight. Her eyes darted across the room, calculating. She clutched her bouquet like it was a weapon, not an accessory. Dad walked her down the aisle, smiling, oblivious. Madeline didn't smile back. The officiant began. He mumbled something generic about love and commitment. The crowd shifted, murmured. I recognized some faces, cousins, neighbors, even Brenda, Madeline's college roommate who once spilled wine on my suede boots and never apologized. But none of that mattered. Because when it came time for the vows, the mic sputtered. A crackle, a pop, and then silence. Colton leaned forward, trying to speak louder, but his voice got swallowed by the cavernous room. He gestured to the sound tech. Madeline's nostrils flared. Then came the best man. A man named Tanner, slightly flushed, overconfident, and clearly tipsy. He swaggered up to the mic for his speech, slurring just slightly. Wow, man, Colton bro, who would have thought, huh? From our wild nights at State to this. A few chuckles, Madeline stiffened. And big shout out to that bachelor weekend in Miami, he continued, his voice rising with delight. Flaming Fox will never be the same. A silence spread like a ripple through the room. My mother blinked rapidly. My father turned to her, confused. Tanner laughed, oblivious. What happens in Miami, am I right? And that's when Madeline snapped. She snatched the mic. Colton, she said, her voice low and shaking. We agreed. No details from your little boy's trip. It was just a joke, Colton stammered. A joke? Her voice climbed. About what? About a strip club? About you embarrassing me in front of our families? Gasps. Someone in the back dropped a champagne glass. It shattered. The sound technician flinched. Colton tried to take her hand. She yanked it away. What did you do in Miami, Colton? She hissed. What questionable memories are your friends laughing about? The officiant stepped forward, his hands raised like he could tame a wild animal. But it was too late. The chaos was blooming, unchecked. And then, right at the crescendo of madness, the live stream froze. My screen was stuck on a single frame. Madeline mid-scream, bouquet raised like she might hurl it. Colton beside her, pale as the tablecloths. My mother in the background, her expression caught between a grimace and a prayer. At the bottom of the screen, the banner still read, A Celebration of Love. I stared at the screen. I didn't move, didn't speak. Then I laughed. A short, sharp laugh that cracked something open inside me. The wedding I wasn't allowed to attend had just imploded on a global stage. And I had the best seat in the house. The frozen live stream frame lingered on my laptop like a paused reality show. Madeline mid-scream, Colton stunned, the chaos immortalized in digital silence. I didn't refresh the page. I didn't need to. I had seen everything. Hours passed. The wine bottle was empty. My inbox stayed quiet, save for one incoming message. An email from Forever Moments Inc., apologizing for technical difficulties and thanking me for attending. At midnight, my phone buzzed, a group message from Mom. Dear friends and family, please disregard the technical glitch during the live stream. We are addressing a minor issue. Kindly refrain from sharing or reposting any video content from today. Thank you for respecting our privacy. Minor issue. That was one way to spin a public meltdown. I let the phone go dark and went to bed. By morning, the internet had already decided this wasn't a minor issue. It was a meme. My notifications were on fire. A friend tagged me in a TikTok, a grainy phone recording of someone filming their computer screen during the wedding. It captured the moment Tanner made his speech, the bouquet lift, the scream, all of it. The caption, Bridezilla loses it live, groom exposed. It had 800,000 views by breakfast. Twitter had it too. This is why you don't live stream weddings. Shout out to Flaming Fox for ruining marriages before they begin. Even Instagram wasn't safe. Someone had clipped the frozen live stream image and overlaid text. Me when the waiter forgets my fries. When you find out your ex is at the same wedding. It was everywhere. I turned off notifications, but it was too late. My family's curated celebration had become internet popcorn. Then Mom called. I didn't answer. She called again and again, then a text. Isabel, please pick up. This is a family emergency. So I picked up, put her on speaker, stirred my coffee. Isabel, she said, breathless. You saw, didn't you? I did. This is a nightmare. Madeline is inconsolable. The press, the blogs, oh God, TikTok, you have to help. I blinked. Help with what exactly? You're good with computers, can't you call someone, get them to take it down? This is defamation. I sipped my coffee. It's not defamation if it happened, Mom. She sputtered. You're being cruel. I kept my voice even. You told me there wasn't room for me, that this was a private event, that I'd understand. She was quiet. I do understand, I continued, but if this is a family emergency, I'm not sure I'm still considered family. Click, I ended the call. And it felt good. Later that afternoon, I walked to the bookstore, bought a novel, took myself to lunch. The sun was warm. I laughed out loud when the waiter asked if I was celebrating anything. Just peace, I said. I didn't feel vindictive, I didn't want revenge. I just didn't want to carry their chaos anymore. That night, I got another text, this time from Madeline. I guess you're happy now. No greeting, no punctuation. I stared at the screen, then deleted the message. Because here's the thing no one tells you, being left out hurts. But watching people implode without your help, your presence, your support, that's something else entirely. They excluded me to keep things perfect. Turns out I wasn't the problem. They were. And no amount of edits or deleted videos could change that. While the internet dissected every frame of Madeline's meltdown, while Mom tried to wage war against the virality of humiliation, I went to my bank. I had been saving for years, quietly, methodically, a little every month, tucked away while others spent theirs on matching bachelorette robes and brunches with bottomless mimosas. I'd been putting off using the money, always waiting for the right moment, a marriage, a milestone, a sign. But the moment had arrived, quiet and unceremonious. It looked like freedom. I called a realtor, told her I wanted something small but solid, a fixer-upper with potential. She raised an eyebrow at my budget, then softened when she realized I knew exactly what I wanted. We toured 10 homes in 2 weeks. One was too new, one was falling apart, another smelled like cats and regret. And then we found it. A 2-bedroom bungalow on a tree-lined street in a neighborhood that was slowly, quietly finding itself again. The porch was wide, the floors creaked, the backyard was overgrown, wild, waiting for someone to believe in it. I stood in the middle of the empty living room, light pooling through dusty windows, and I felt it. This wasn't just a house. It was mine. When I signed the closing documents, there were no flowers, no applause, just the quiet scratch of a pen and a notary's nod. But I walked out of that office taller. While my family scrambled to edit reality, to spin disaster into dignity, I was laying the first stone of something real. I started going to the hardware store on Sundays. I watched videos on painting trim, patching walls, replacing light fixtures. My hands got scraped, my back ached, but it was the kind of ache that meant progress. One morning, while replanting the flower beds, I got a text from my cousin. "Your mom is on a warpath again, she's blaming the sound guy now." I didn't respond. I dug deeper into the soil, planted the hydrangeas. Some nights I'd sit on the porch with a cup of mint tea, watching the neighbors walk their dogs. No noise, no drama, just the quiet certainty that I had stepped out of their storm. My sister's honeymoon never happened. Colton deleted his Instagram. My parents, according to Aunt May, were restructuring their narrative. But me? I was building. Not for anyone else, not for appearances, but for the girl who had stood in the shadows for 30 years. She deserved more than invitations that never came. She deserved this. A space of her own. A life built brick by quiet brick. And I wasn't done yet. A month later, the viral dust began to settle. Though every now and then I'd still see a meme, Madeline's scream frozen mid-frame, turned into reaction gifs and TikTok stitches with captions like, "Me when someone eats my leftovers." But something else caught my attention. A headline, small and buried in the local business section, "Grand Terrace Wedding Estate Files for Bankruptcy After Public Fallout." I clicked. The article detailed how the viral incident triggered a wave of cancellations. Brides no longer wanted their big day associated with a venue that trended for all the wrong reasons. The owners tried to do damage control, but it was too late. The market had spoken. All that money, all that planning, all for the sake of a curated perfection that fell apart in real time. And while their empire collapsed, I was planting roots. The house I bought, my house, had already gone up in value. The neighborhood was blooming. I was connecting with local contractors, meeting neighbors, attending small business workshops. Not because I had to prove anything, but because I wanted to. I wasn't chasing an aesthetic. I was building something that lasted. One evening, I met Uncle Marty for coffee, as promised. We hadn't spoken since the wedding. He was one of the few who didn't pretend to buy the small guest list excuse. He slid into the booth, set down his black coffee, and gave me a long, knowing look. "So," he said, "word is you're buying up half the West Side." I smiled. "Just a small piece of it." "Still," he leaned back, "you did it, Izzy. While everyone else was screaming for attention, you walked away and started building something real." I looked out the window, watching the last light of day stretch across the sidewalk. "It's funny," I said. "They spent all that time trying to control the narrative, and the only story that lasted was the one they didn't script." Uncle Marty chuckled. "They tried to cut you out. Now you're the only one not bleeding." That night I went home, poured a glass of iced tea, and sat on my porch. The air was still, sweet with honeysuckle. I listened to the crickets, watched the house across the street flick on its porch light, and I smiled. Not a smile of revenge, not victory, just peace. This was the life I had been waiting to step into, not because I was left out, but because I finally left them behind. I turned off my phone. I didn't need their calls, their drama, or their stories anymore. This was mine. Quiet, real, rooted. Because while they were still trying to fix what broke, I was quietly building something that could never fall apart, and no one saw it coming. That's the thing about the quiet ones. We don't shout. We rise. They said I didn't belong, but I didn't need their invitation to find my worth. Because while they were still chasing appearances, I was building something real, quietly, brick by brick. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't loud, it's peace. If this story found a piece of you, if you've ever been the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one they didn't see coming, then this space is for you. Subscribe to Sweet Revenge, Happy Ending, where the quiet ones rise, the forgotten ones rebuild, and every ending is finally ours to write.